Hi, welcome back. It's Chris Petri. Part 2, Rocks in Watercolor. We're having a great time here. We're going to do our second composition and actually our third composition. But before we start, let's take a look. I wanted to have the photograph of what we're going to paint. Okay, we have the. This is the. Let's turn some lights on here. Okay, this is the photograph of the composition. Okay, so what we're looking at here is some gorgeous rocks leading up along the shoreline here, the waves crashing in from the right to the left, splashing, and beautiful sloping fields that come down towards the rocks. And then at the top of the hill, we have a nice church and um, some trees around the church. And this is just a composition, so we can create, you can, at your own convenience, you can create different ideas, move things around. You can make the church a lighthouse or just a house. Take artist liberties when you're doing compositions and having fun with watercolors. Change things around, adjust colors to suit your taste. So here I'm starting my rocks. We're just contour drawing the rocks, and we're trying to keep a few things in mind um, as we draw our rocks in the foreground here. The two main things we're thinking of is let's keep our rocks along the shoreline larger in the foreground closest to us, and then as they go off into the distance, as I'm drawing now, you'll see we're trying to make them a little smaller. Um, so just naturally, things as they trail off into the distance will become smaller and then even lighter in color too as well. So we keep that in mind as we're sketching here, and we want to try to vary the shapes of the rocks a little bit, but they are mostly, as you can see, round ovals, some egg-shaped rocks, some square edge rocks a little bit here and there, but mostly round. And that's really the focal point, that those interesting rock formations along the shore here. And then we're going to put in a church at the top of the hill, or a lighthouse. We could have some fun with that, and that's doesn't it's not a main focal point of the painting, so it's in the distance, kind of as an area of interest. And then we slope down the I use those lines there. We use those lines to just give us the mental image of the ground sloping down towards the water. So whenever you like, lines can really help to just light lines in your sketches can just help you to have that idea of the ground sloping towards us. So that's a great technique to use. And I'm using a number 4 Escada. And we're going to clean up our palette here and make sure that we start off with a nice, fresh, clean palette. We'll put on some nice, fresh, vibrant colors. Colors of the rocks are going to be very varied. So we'll have some golds, some blues, cobalt blue. That's some raw sienna. Um, so you have some yellow ochre, raw sienna. We're going to put in some cobalt blue, sap green, viridian green, cobalt blue, a little bit of alizarin crimson too as well. And we're just going to use a mixture of all those colors individually, just bringing each color individually and then mixing on the paper. And we're definitely leaving our whites on the tops of those rocks. That's real important. Save those whites, leave those whites on the tops of the rocks there. You can always go back in and add, a lighter wash of watercolor to the white paper if you want to. So you can leave as much light on the tops of those rocks as you feel you want to for the look you're looking for in the painting. But I think I left about maybe a quarter of the rock is left with white paper there. And then just add some of the mixtures again, all the blues and the siennas and yellow ochre, and we're keeping the darks at the bottom of the rocks where the darkest shadows are. And this is a relatively small composition, 4 inches by 5 inches maybe. So we can already see that leaving the whites of those, the tops white, we're starting to get that feel of roundness and dimension to the rocks. And then even too, adding those darks in the shadow areas also makes it feel very solid and round. And we go in and paint around our subject, which is the rock there. We paint around it, and then a negative shape painting, and then the rock appears, the top of the rock appears. And then we just keep doing that same process all the way toward the distance. As we work toward the distance, the colors might not be as bright and vibrant. We can mix more, use a little more grayish tones to the rocks as we go into the distance. That will definitely give a better effect of the rocks trailing off into the distance if they're a little more grayer and cooler even. So I would use a little more of the bluish tones and colors as the rocks trail off into the distance toward the center of the picture. And now going into some French ultramarine blue and some burnt umber, and then some raw umber and a little bit of alizarin crimson. And then we're going to do those, we're going to carefully go in and remember, this is no water, just straight paint there. And then we're going to go in and touch in some paint in the dark shadow areas. So I carefully, and this is fun. You'll see this with watercolor. You kind of test little spots here and there as you work. If something gets out of control a little bit, you can touch it with some paper towel or some tissue, and then let it dry a little more. So I'm kind of letting the first glazing dry a little bit, but it's still a little damp. So it makes a nice effect when it's damp, because you can you can kind of see how they blend together, the paints, which is a little better effect than if you were to let it completely dry. It won't look as interesting, but it takes a little bit of timing and a little bit of experience. So you have to just work at it. More practice. The more practice you do with watercolors, the better you get all the time. And then here I'm touching in a little bit of the yellow ochre to blend it into the tops of the rocks there, and I'm still leaving white paper. And so really now we've got we're there. We got the rocks. They look great. Now we're going to clean up the palette a little more and do a little more detail work, but really we're excited here. We got the rocks, and that's the main portion of this composition that we did here and what we wanted to achieve. And we did a really nice job here. We've got those nice darks in the shadow areas and the nice bright white tops of the rocks with the beautiful light cascading off the tops of those rocks. And we got some nice middle tones in the rocks too, to make them look nice and solid and round. And now we're going to do some water for the shore, the ocean waves coming in. I'm using the same colors as I used in the second composition. All three of my blues, and then a little bit of the green, the Viridian, and then some splashes. Definitely along the perfect time to use the splashing technique is when you're doing anything with water, splashing or rain or waves. And we'll do a little green. We're going to start to do some grass and fields in the distance here. Sap green, olive green, and then we'll use a little bit of, I think we use cadmium yellow here. Yep, cadmium yellow. And we're just, blending, putting some color onto the paper here. Adding a little bit of blue to add a little bit of variety. Gray it down a little bit. Then we'll go with some raw sienna. Some nice bright straight raw sienna there at the top, and that looks really nice. The exciting pure color. And a little more water here to the right. Just getting an idea of things. And then some straight cerulean blue for the sky. Nothing more, nothing less. Just straight cerulean blue with some water. And we just do the nice sky right across. And then we'll call it a day right here at this point. We can let this all dry now, and then we can go back in and do like a little work to the church at the top of the hill. We might fill in a little more grayish blue for the stones that are in the distance, close to the base of the hill where the church is at the top, or the lighthouse. But essentially, this is what we were looking for: that nice look of rocks, waves splashing up against them along the shoreline here, a nice grassy field leading up to a lighthouse or a church or a house. You can change around your compositions to have fun and change things as far as what you're looking for, the look of your painting or so forth. All right, so we'll see everyone the next time. I think the next video we're going to do maybe some more animals, maybe some dogs, some cats, some horses. We'll try some animals a little more. We haven't done a lot of those, so we'll do some of that next time. And until then, have a great day, evening, and morning. We'll talk to everyone soon. Bye-bye.